Last week, I talked about cultural overload when you're developing a personal brand. This week, I want to talk to you about preserving your cultural identity. And I'm not talking about heritage, I'm talking about cultural identity as it relates to your personal brand. And so, what I have seen and what I've experienced just looking at social media, no like and trust has driven people to crazy town. And it still has not converted to sales or leads or anything like that. And I've also heard people, as far as cultural identity is concerned, talk about, I'm not interesting and no one cares about what I have to say. It's like, how would you know if you ain't said shit? And my question to you is that because you're afraid to let people see who you are? Not all of you, just enough of you that goes into your personal brand. There's a cultural identity that we need to preserve in order to be able to do what we do well. There's something about saying, you know what, let me stand right here. And this is the cultural identity that I embrace for my business, not for my whole ass life. And I need to preserve that. Because believe it or not, there's history and there's age and there's wisdom in that cultural identity that you're not tapping into. And we want to get away from trying to appeal to the masses and appeal to the right people. We are the cause of our own cultural erasure. And I'm not even talking on a massive scale if we're talking about heritage. I'm just talking about we're wearing away ourselves. We're taking away all of the things that make us great in order to have mass appeal. That needs to stop. Preserving your cultural identity and not being party to the erasure of it so that you can have a better personal brand, baby, that's where it's at. Let's get into it.
Hey, brand babies. This is Brandma's podcast, where we go in on personal branding without taking shit personally. Brandma's house is hosted by none other than the Ghetto Country Brandmother. She's here to share her experience, expertise, and education in a way that takes you from brand baby to brand leader. So come on in and hold on to your bourbon because Brandma's about to spill the tea.
All right, brand babies. First, I want to talk to you about cultural erasure. And I want to talk about it because as business owners, especially as new business owners, sometimes we go out here and we see people make all the money and they have all the things and oh, it's just so fucking appealing. It's ridiculous. Because you know what? We want the same thing. But the thing about it is when we try to have this mass appeal like the people who have all the money, we erase our culture. We denigrate ourselves. And we don't even realize that we're doing ourselves a disservice by trying to appeal to the masses. Sweetie, it's just like those people, and I know you've probably seen one in your lifetime. I know they are not unicorns, but those people like, oh, I can take your man, I can take your woman, I can get anybody that I want. It's not inherently true. I don't care what they think of themselves. So when you have this cultural erasure of whitewashing yourself, and I'm not talking about white people, but I'm just saying whitewashing yourself to take away everything that adds flavor, then you're party to your own cultural erasure. And I'm sure that's not why you got in business. Because what you do and do well requires some boldness to tell somebody that you do that well. When I talk to you about brand ego, sweetie, there has to be some cultural identity in that brand ego so that you can, hey, I'm right here. And I'm not afraid to say that I do this. I'm not talking about arrogance. I'm not talking about conceitedness, but I'm talking about not erasing what makes me bold and powerful. I'm talking about taking this blend for me, which is ghetto country, to help my clients, which are not. I have to admit, sometimes I'm surprised by the clients that I get because people think that this ghetto country thing is off putting. And for some people, it is. And I'm grateful for that. Oh, y'all need to stay the fuck away. But then there are other people who are drawn to it. It's like, how are you so bold in what you do? Sweetie, y'all know my thing is about courage. I'm not bold about shit. I'm courageous. I will do it afraid. And it's the same thing that when people know that they're standing in their truth, especially when it comes to a personal brand, y'all have worn out the welcome mat on authenticity. So, like I said, but when we talk about the when we talk about the truth of your cultural identity, the thing that makes you special, the thing that you blended together to put out this personal brand does not require your name. It does not require all of your toast and beach vacations. It just requires a cultural identity that makes you, you know what, uniquely different. We constantly hear the market is saturated. Oh, I can't even say the word. The market is saturated. It's noisy out here and all the social media. And how do I stand out? Most of the time, you think it's saturated because you're following the same people that are doing what you're doing. Y'all know I did a podcast about that a long time ago doing that follow for follow shit. Didn't nobody want to hear me, but it's a thing. You follow for follow, and then all you see is the same thing that you're doing, and then you turn around and regurgitate the shit that you're doing or you're saying. That's what I meant. And there's no cultural identity in that. There's no opinion in that because part of your personal brand and even your business brand both should have an opinion about something, especially within the industry, within the marketplace, within how you make your money, with how your clients are able to recognize you. The cultural identity that no one else has. Because the thing that you need to get to is understanding that your personal brand is specifically for you. It's the thing that follows you everywhere. And even when you decide that you no longer need a personal brand because you've made a name for yourself, sweetie, you can take that shit off. Everybody wants to try it out now when they're talking about personal branding. They like, look at how many followers Richard Branson has, and look how many Virgin has. Look how many so and so has, and look how much their business has. Okay, big fucking deal. Those are not personal brands. Those are people. I actually looked up Richard Branson's. Can you say the dude's name? I looked up Richard Branson's Instagram, and dude is laying on the beach and he's living the best life and all that kind of stuff. And y'all fucking jealous. Go ahead and admit it. Oh, I ain't jealous of him. Bullshit. Because dude is living large, okay? He is all and out of control. But even at that, as Richard Branson, the man behind the business brand of Virgin, is endorsing his business. I saw one about what, a hotel or something? Didn't even know Virgin had a hotel. But he's endorsing the things that he's doing because you know what? They're relevant to him. It doesn't matter whether his personal brand is behind it or not, because the people that run the day to day, I'm pretty sure it's not Richard Branson. It's everybody that keeps the Virgin brand alive, that keeps it flourishing. Even in the shitty ass way that Jeff Bezos treats his people. Jeff Bezos is not the brand. He doesn't even have a fucking personal brand. He's a raggedy ass dude that treats people like shit. But the thing that makes Amazon what it is, the things that people live up to as far as the Amazon brand is concerned, are all the people that, you know what, they make sure you get your prime deliveries on time within 2 days or whatever it is. Make sure your shit is packaged up. But the personal brand of what a thing is that I want people to understand a personal brand as an asset. And the cultural identity of that asset bleeds into the business brand. I can't take Phyllis into my business because she would probably tear some shit up. She would wreck it. Because you know what? And I know people like, well, this it's about being professional. Well, you should learn to control yourself. And sweetie, how are those boundaries any different than the boundaries that I place on my personal brand? Because telling Phyllis what to do and what not to do, Phyllis will snap. But Ghetto Country Brandmother knows that this is how I make my money. This is how I serve my clients. Whenever I send out anything, my clients, if they respond, they'll say, thanks, Brandma. They don't say, thanks, Phyllis. And I don't have a problem with that. So recognizing the cultural identity, because I did try to erase my cultural identity when I became a business coach, it was on me. It wasn't on them. Nobody asked me to do it, except the folks that wanted me to assimilate. And you know what? You need to tone it down and take it down a notch. And why? Because you don't like it, sweetie. I'm not targeting you. I'm not trying to assist you. I'm not trying to nurture you. So no, this is not for you. So you don't get to tell me to tone the fuck down. What I get to do is step the fuck up for my clients who want to be bold and courageous and not feel like imposters, not be frustrated, not be worried about their shit by themselves. So when I erased my cultural identity, you know what? I could not be of service to anyone. I could not give coaching away for free. Oh my goodness. It was sad. And so understanding what that cultural erasure looks like, we can look at it on a massive scale, but I'm like I said, I want you to look at it on a personal scale. I want you to look at it for yourself in how you try to erase certain parts of yourself because it's considered unprofessional. I told you, profession is about how you make your money. That's what profession is. And people still want to act like getting dressed up in a suit makes you professional. That's some bullshit. There's some shady ass folks in some suits. I know drug dealers that wear suits. Don't give me that shit. So looking professional and being professional, two different things. And I don't even think that there is a such thing as looking professional. Anybody that puts on a uniform and goes picks up trash, the garbage man, he looks professional. I don't care what you heard. He is. The plumber, when he comes to go up under your sink and all that good stuff, he has on his overalls. He's dressed professionally. But their cultural identity with how they do what they do, because they might have gotten that skill from, you know what? Me and my daddy used to go around and fix everybody's plumbing. And there should be pride in that. But people want to make you feel bad because, oh, you're just a plumber. Your punk ass don't want to do it. That's not your cultural identity, but you should not make anybody else feel bad. But that's not the fucking subject. I'm on you. I'm on you not erasing your cultural identity. I'm on those plumbers and those trash men and anybody else who's doing a good day's work, feeding their family, putting food on the table. Sweetie, your cultural identity is about you first and your audience second. And I want you to look at it this way. Personal branding. And you know what? I'm not going to go down that tangent. No, because we're talking about preserving your cultural identity, the cultural identity of your personal brand. And you need to hold on to it. And creating this cultural awareness around it. That's the next point. Because if there's certain things about your personal brand, because it's not all of you, but if there's certain things about your personal brand that people should be aware of, then it becomes part of the story. People are out here trying to figure out what stories to tell because I don't know, I tell them everything. And this is coming from someone who is, oh, I am very transparent. I ain't gonna give you every little detail of intimacy, but I don't have a problem sharing my life. Wrote a book about it, told all my secrets, all the whatever I did. And having done that, it can no longer be used as a weapon against me. How about that? So when I create cultural awareness around being ghetto country, being raised hood adjacent by a country mama, when I talk about this thing based on my parents who raised me, then the cultural awareness is that for me, it goes deeper than me just saying that. There's roots and there's history there. Going back to my mom's dad being a sharecropper. That's as far back as I can go because y'all know cultural erasure. They don't have any records of that. So the only way that culture gets to live on is in me. But then the only way I also know how to be my bold self, because I come from a big ass family and you gotta be loud to be heard, is I had to bring that to this thing. And so people are culturally aware of where I come from. If you have a problem with the hood or the country, then I am not the person for you. And this is not saying that your cultural blend is that thing. But if you decide that jazz is your thing, but somebody over here is hip hop, then sweetie, the jazz is not for you. It's not for you to run down, but neither is it for you to go and spend your money over there. Creating cultural awareness brings something for you to talk about, for somewhere for you to stand and have an opinion on something as far as your personal and your business brand are concerned. Because again, personal brand is for you first and the audience second. Business brand is for the audience first and you second. It flips the script. So creating cultural awareness can come in any shape, form, or fashion because your cultural blend of what you bring to your personal brand allows you to be that educator. It does not require you to try and say what somebody else said. I promise you, I am so sick of hearing people quote Jeff Bezos. Your brand is what people say is you're not in the room. Now the one I'm hearing lately is Marty Newmeyer. Your brand is a gut feeling. You're in the mind or whatever of your client. How about what I say my brand is? My personal and my business. How about I say it first? I say it the loudest. How about I be the influencer of my shit? So under going from going from not getting high on your own supply, so to speak, being that person that contributes to your own erasure, you also have to create cultural awareness. And this is not like I talked about, this is not about the overload. It's not about throwing everything in there because there's levels to who you are. You're multifaceted. And now what people are saying intersectional? Okay. But you can't bring everything that you are to this because this is business. This is not personal. And this takes me to my third point. If you don't learn to embrace your cultural identity, like I said, you are not preserving it because you're trying to make sure that you're accepted by as many people as possible. Because sometimes greed kicks in. It does. I ain't mad. Well, I ain't gonna say I'm not mad. But yeah, greed is a thing. I get it. But if it's at the expense of who you are, then you gotta try and bring it all back. Cause now once you put all this shit out in the world, now all of a sudden you want to go back and be philanthropic. Now you want to go back to who you were, but you ruined your reputation because you tried to erase who you were. You tried to do business based on somebody else's terms. And I'm not talking about hard work and sacrifice and all of those things. Because I think everybody does that in business on some level. But I'm talking about erasing how you operate at your best self. And I think what people call it high vibration, I don't know what none of that shit is. I am not that woo. I'm just not. But I understand in the essence of, you know what? How I do this as my best self requires me to have a cultural identity of these two or three things. It doesn't take all of me to do this. Hell, being an introvert, it don't take none of it don't take nobody for me to get over here and do this. Because I am that loner type. And funny that I married a man that wants to sit next to me all the time. Love him to pieces, but move over. But there, and so when I talk about this, when I talk about embracing my cultural identity, about you embracing your cultural identity, it's so that you don't erase yourself. And the thing about it is, if you do it and based on a cultural blend that's comfortable for you, sweetie, you don't have to. You get to operate at your best self. You get to preserve what makes you good. But then when you get done making all the money, because you didn't have to put on airs, you didn't have to put on any fake shit. You just get to put on the rest of who you are when you're having a personal life. It's like, oh, this is so him. And people get that. People who know you well will see that. But then they get to enjoy all the other parts of you. But they also get to experience all the bad shit of you. But there's this thing about embracing, about being self-aware enough to know that, you know what, I'm shy, but I want to have a business. So what do I do? How do I work with this shyness? Sweetie, if there's something in here that makes you bold, you can do all the things and make all the money, regardless of being shy. Because there's a cultural identity blend for you to make you bold as fuck and courageous as hell. And it does not require you to try and be like somebody else. It does not require you to look at them and say, oh, I got to be like them. And if I can't be like them, then I'm a fucking imposter. I don't know how to do that. You get to own this. You get to run this shit. I used to say when we were When we were little, when we talk about trying to run somebody, you can't run nothing but your mouth and your shoes. But when it comes to running your business, use the personal brand of a culture that you embrace and identify with that lets you be courageous as hell. Don't sit here and be, again, the person that erases you because you want to appeal to the masses. You're forcing yourself to be more outgoing when you know you don't want to be bothered with nobody. How can you do your business without being bothered with people? Is there a way? I don't know. That's something for you to figure out. Embracing identity also comes with self education. The more you do, the more you learn about yourself. If you never step outside of your comfort zone, you never will fully realize how far you can go. So, self education allows you to embrace a little bit more of yourself, a little bit more of that cultural blend that makes you so fucking amazing. And it helps you to step out into these spaces where people tell you you're not welcome. First of all, I'm not going anywhere that I'm not welcome. That's just me. But second of all, I'm not going because you told me I couldn't go. It's because I don't give a fuck anymore because I'm over here being my best self. How about that? It's about being self educated and self aware enough to say, you know what? I can turn down this money because it doesn't align with the ethical things that I want to be known for. My reputation is at stake. If you sacrifice that for a dollar sign, then you know what? You're not as self aware as you thought. Or no, maybe you are because you decided to sell your soul to the devil for a dollar. Self education and self awareness creates more of a bond to that cultural identity that you need to embrace in order to do the thing that you want to do. Trying to have somebody know, like, and trust you is not the issue. I'd rather have you respect me than like me. If I get both, oh, I'm winning. I'm cool with that. But first and foremost, I got to respect myself. I got to embrace myself. And so, even my daughter, for example, I talked about well, I know I talk about my daughter, but but teaching my daughter these things, self education is not easy because you have to be truthful with yourself. And until you're truthful with yourself, sweetie, again, you're going to erase. I don't want you to think that you have to have everybody like you. The more you know who your haters are, the more you know who's there for you. And yes, you can't stop judgment and all these other things. But again, embrace the cultural identity of it all so that you can preserve it, so that you can build a company that isn't toxic. Because if you have this culture that you're building, this cultural identity that you embrace, guess what you're going to attract to work with you? People who have a similar get down and can understand where you're coming from. And they want to be around you. So now you're building a company and a business that doesn't require you to act some kind of way, that you don't have to boss people, that you actually get to lead. And being a leader is, you know what? This is how I do what I do. And they're like, I got mad respect for that. Can I come work for you? Can I partner with you? Can I do this thing with you? And you didn't have to erase shit. Now, before I get to my next point, I'm gonna take a pause for the call so y'all know what that is. I'll be right back.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. The one trying to find the perfect balance in life? Even at 15, I know that's bullshit. My mom wrote this awesome book called Balance is Bullshit. It's all about making your own decisions. It's time to stop chasing balance. Make a choice that's right for you right now. Life isn't meant to be perfectly balanced. It's meant to be lived with all of its ups, downs, sideways, and every single lesson it's got. So if you're dealing with tough decisions, this is the book for you. It'll get you in the right frame of mind to tackle anything that comes your way. Listen, you gotta embrace the scary shit. Don't let fear cloud your judgment. Trust yourself because you have got what it takes. Say yes to what matters. Don't be afraid to say no to the rest. Do yourself a favor, check out Balance is Bullshit by my mom, Phyllis Williams Trotter. It's relatable, honest, and it'll make you think. Trust me, I would know. My mom is raising me to make my own decisions, and this book is like a high five from her to you. Make your own decisions and live life on your own terms. Because balance, well, that's just a bunch of bullshit. Thank you so much for listening. Now go grab that book, dude.
All right, sweetheart. So how do you preserve your cultural identity as far as your personal brand is concerned? The biggest one, and it's something that people try and do anyway, but doing it in a different way as far as your business is concerned, is storytelling. You need to share stories about your culture, and you also use your culture to educate people on what it is that you do. Whether it's a service-based business or a product, you do it in a cultural fashion that makes it accessible to other people. It's not about trying to get people to switch over or cultural appropriation and all of that kind of stuff. Y'all, that's some shady shit. That's different. But being able to share stories is some of the biggest ways that culture is passed down. So if you have this thing, I know my husband right now is trying to find somebody where we live to share jazz with him. He's not a big conversationalist. He's like, dude, I just want to sit down, have a drink, and enjoy some music because that's part of his culture. He gets it from his dad. His dad was the one that introduced him to jazz. So to not have that thing and then not to share with our daughter is a form of cultural erasure. And so when you have teenagers in the house, yes, they don't want to hear it now. So when you have teenagers in your business, they don't want to hear it now. But there is something about your storytelling that can come across as part of the educational piece of your brand strategy. And especially when you're trying to do a brand strategy of what you want the future to look like for you and your clients. If you plan to grow and scale, then there's stories in that. Use your voice. And my, like I say, mine comes off the way that it does. This is the voice of my brand, of my personal brand, but it's also my personal voice. But when I talk about using your brand voice, there's something about the way that you come across and the language that you use that lends itself to the culture. When you have people repeating what you say, sweetie, you have just extended your culture. I know I say a lot of times that, and this comes from when I was coaching kids, when I was coaching teenagers. I always tell them to tap into their gift, talents, and abilities. And I've heard other people say, you know what, it's all about your gift, talents, and abilities. And so that's part of the culture. And now she and I share that culture. And it's not just her, it's other people as well. So when you have these things that you do, when you have this language that you're known for, you're cultivating a culture that combats the erasure. That's a whole lot of C's, ain't it? Another way that you can do this is that when you have someone that shares, when you engage, when you explain, and I'm not, oh, see, explaining myself is a kind of a trigger for me. It ain't something I run from, but I don't feel like I have to explain myself. But sometimes when we're talking about it from a business perspective, sweetie, sometimes the explanation is an education. So if you want to educate someone on something that's relevant to your business and your cultural identity, then you know what? Educate them. If part of your culture is about inspiring, then use it to inspire. But in all of these things that you do, you're combating your own cultural erasure. You're making sure that it lives to hopefully another generation. But if you don't speak up at all, if you don't open your mouth, if you don't express something about your business and what you're doing, then you know what? It dies with you. You're doing a disservice to someone who wants to hang on to their culture, but they don't even realize that there's someone out there to share it with. So you get to be that person that has this tribe. And you know what? I'm not even gonna go there. There's just certain things that we need to use within our arsenal to make sure that we're able to make it to the next level. And just because your clothes get better, your money gets bigger, your dollar goes further, the freedom of having more money is a thing, it doesn't mean that, you know what, you have to erase your culture. If you're going to start loud, stay loud. This is why I tell people, sweetie, all the pointing and dancing that you're doing within social media as a means for content creation, you're not going to point and dance in the meeting. Why are you doing it here? And I know it's easy to do this and point at some words, but if they keep telling you that people don't read, why are you pointing at words? Go write a fucking book or a blog or something. Tell the story in any shape, form, or fashion that you can. And when you recognize someone that has a shared culture, then support that. I'm not telling you to support someone else's business. I'm saying support someone else that supports the culture. Because if there's alignment there, you never know. There could be a collaboration there. And you will bring together a larger group of this cultural identity that the two of you share. Going to sit on panels, and it's an honor to be asked to speak and do public speaking and all this stuff. It's great. And it's even better when you get paid for it. But if there's no alignment in the culture, then you might end up in some spaces where you're talking English and they're listening in Martian. There's no alignment. But as long as you're doing your part to combat the erasure of what it is a part of your cultural identity, and again, I'm not just harping on heritage. I know my Black ass heritage. I know that. I know black eyed peas and collard greens and ham hocks and cornbread. I know that. That's my home down culture. That's my mama and them right there. But I'm talking about the culture that makes me who I am. The two halves of this whole ass personal brand is Ghetto Country. And while I can go into depth about what Ghetto Country is, the most succinct way I say I was raised hood adjacent by a country mama. Now, if you want to know the history, that requires a conversation between me and you. It's not that I'm ashamed of. It's not that I don't want to share with the world. It's just a long ass story. And ain't nobody trying to hear that except somebody trying to sit down and have a drink and a cigar with me. Okay. Let me get to this last point and then y'all can go on about your day. The thing about cultural identity is that it is a source of strength. It is a source of boldness and courage and resilience. It's the shit that makes you get back up because people think that they can knock you down and you not do anything about it. And you can't, and y'all know I used to fight. Yes, I was gang adjacent as well. But the thing about it is I don't fight the same way. And I know how to get back up. I actually know how to turn the other cheek when I really want to. But there's a cultural identity in this whole ghetto country thing of me that, you know what? When people talk about me, sweetie, you can talk about me right now at this very moment on whatever day what's today? Today is Tuesday for me. Right now, I am kicked off of LinkedIn. I don't know if they're gonna let me back, but I'm kicked off because I think it didn't happen until I put in my bio that Brandma's house is where personal brands go to grow the fuck up. I ain't been able to get something since. And I'm cool with that. I really am. Because to them, that is unprofessional. Cussing is not a professional language. Says who? I don't know. If it wasn't a thing, half the rap songs wouldn't be what they are. Okay. Everybody wouldn't try to act like they woke. All right. And I don't know why people think that cussing is what makes you cool. Because I'm hearing more and more people try to identify and connect with people by using profanity. I use profanity because it's easier than trying to catch all the words that fall out of my mouth. Is I can't put them back once they fall out. So you know what? It just is what it is. But one of my favorite shows, and I know I'm getting off topic a little bit, but one of my favorite shows is Criminal Minds. And the new version that's on Paramount, their latest season. Everybody and their mom on there cussing. And I'm talking about all the fuck this and bitch that. And it's all the things. And I am totally turned off by that. Because for 13 seasons, that's not what they gave me. I appreciated them for solving the crimes and all that kind of stuff. But their cultural identity has been ruined by people expecting that cursing be a thing now. There was no resilience in them just staying who they were. My husband, my husband says, I think all of my clients cuss, but they don't curse with their clients. That's because I give them the freedom and the space to do so. But then I also have clients that do not. And it's because there's a cultural identity that, you know what? This is the place where I can drop F-bombs. But over here in the space of my personal identity, that's not what I want with my clients. I have another set of clients that smoke, and they smoke a lot. So it's like, okay, do you want to make this a part of your personal brand or not? Because if you're going to sit here and have nicotine fits when you're supposed to be listening to your client, you might want to make it a part of your brand. And I'm not promoting cigarettes. I don't give a fuck if you smoke. I smoke cigars. But if you're going to have this thing and you want to be comfortable where you sit, where you stand, where you make your money, sweetie, okay, should we bring this in or not? You get to decide. Because like I said, your personal brand is for you first and your clients second. Your business brand is for your clients first and then you second. So if you have this cultural identity that gives you strength and makes you resilient, that makes you bounce back despite any of the other crazy that's out there, then sweetheart, why are you not using it? And then I want you to consider this. All of this wannabe assimilation and we're all the same and all that kind of stuff. If that was so true, why are corporations taking cultural heritages? Am I saying that right? Taking the cultural, I can't even say it. Taking the cultural heritage of others to turn around and sell. But then you try to tell people to tone it down. I see, oh my God, when non-black people and non-ethnic people started getting crunk and all the other things. And oh my goodness, I see more Asians doing hip hop dances and all this kind of stuff than black folks. And I know where it started, but I'm not making this a black and white thing. It just is what it is. My husband showed me a girl the other day, a little white girl. And she was feeling the music and she was getting down. But that's her get down. It's not that she was trying to be black. It wasn't like she was trying to dance black. Whereas the old me would have said that. The new me is like, that baby was feeling all that vibe. That's her culture. That's her get down. Wouldn't take that from her. And see, the thing that I respect about her more than I respect about people who have to go and learn to dance this way and still don't get it, is that she was feeling it. Everybody else is trying to get it. Just like when people tell you to have empathy and they want you to have manufactured empathy. Sweetie, I live with empathy. That shit is not manufactured. I sit here and watch TV and cry. I get mad. I want to fight. Hell, when I saw, what was it? What was the Tina Turner movie? What's love got to do with it? When she went off on Ike in the limo, baby, I was standing up in the theater. I was swinging with her. So it's not about a cultural identity that's not yours. You can sympathize where you may not be able to empathize, and that's okay. Your cultural identity, like I said, is a source of strength. It should not be a source of fakeness. It should not be a thing of manipulation. Because if you're manipulating yourself in order to get by, then sweetheart, you're one of those people that are going to see later on and saying, oh, I'm burnt out. Oh, I'm tired. Oh, I'm taking time off. I can't do it no more. Really? It's doing too much. I believe in people. I really do. I respect most people. I'm not even going to say all. And I believe that there's something in you that makes you the boldest person you can be. And standing up to bullies and haters and all that kind of stuff, sweetie, sometimes it's just like, you know what? Don't let them bother you. My cultural identity is strong enough and my armor is, you know what? You may put a dent in it, but you can't penetrate it. I don't know if that takes more years of living or more years of being in business. But there's something about your cultural identity that you need to preserve. Stop allowing other people to erase it because they want you to appeal to the masses. Oh, well, you should appeal to a broader market. Why? Because you want a piece of my money? Because you won't respect me unless I make more money? Fuck you. Stop allowing people to manipulate you into being greedy as they are. If you're greedy on your own, that's fine. But trying to tell other people to be greedy, sweetie, move. But anyway, I just want you guys to respect your I want you all to respect yourself enough to hold on to your cultural identity, especially when it's a place and a resource of strength. Recognize that, you know what, don't be party to your own erasure. And I'm talking about the erasure of self, even though I tell you don't take this personally. I'm speaking from a place of experience. I told y'all, Mrs. Mister, my former personal brand, I was all caught up. I was all shades of crazy. And I was so tired of being her, but I got to the point that I damn near didn't know how not to be her. It's a thing. And this is why I want you to understand having a cultural identity that you don't have to code switch between your life brand and business is very important to me. I believe people should get back to having a personal life that, you know what, have a secret or two. And I ain't talking about some criminal shit. I'm just saying something between you and the person you tell it to. It does not have to be part of your content strategy. Does not have to be part of your marketing strategy to get people to like you. Fuck if folk don't like you. If they want what you have, trust and believe, they're going to spend the money. But if you can't make them want it because, I'm sorry, you're a cultural coward, then it don't matter. People every day spend money with Walmart and Amazon and talk about them like dogs. But what they'll tell you is like, well, it ain't gonna make a difference. So I may as well spend my money. But y'all don't know my story. I stopped spending money with Starbucks years ago because when the whole Black Lives Matter thing shook out and the t-shirt deal and all that kind of stuff, I ain't bought Starbucks since. And I sold my Starbucks stock because that culture was no longer a part of me. And mind you, I used to have a Starbucks budget. Okay. That's how strong I was part of the Starbucks culture. But I've never gone back. I don't even let other people buy me Starbucks. I think once, but I don't want to be associated with it. And while I'm not a card carrying member of the whole Black Lives Matter movement, I'm still a fucking Black person. So you know what? They can't have my money. I bitch and say all the things about Jeff Bezos, but Jeff Bezos still gets my money. Prime account, Kindle, unlimited, all of it. And I prefer Walmart to Target. Those are all a part of my culture. So recognize people don't have to know, like, and trust you. You probably wanted to, and that's great. But folks is going to spend money where they're going to spend money. Your cultural identity aside, you don't have to erase it. You don't have to appeal to the masses. People buy from people they hate, from companies they hate. It's a thing. And while I'm down for people being more ethical, sweetie, I can't control that. I can only control my ethics. And my ethical thing is to respect everybody's cultural identity, whether I like it or not. So preserve the culture, your culture, the culture of your company, the culture of those who need you to be louder, the culture that makes you bold as fuck. Preserve the culture. Stop letting folks erase who you are. Bring part of that into your personal brand. Save the rest for yourself. That's all I got for you, brand babies. Y'all know it's time to go. So 5, bullshit happens. So suck it up. 4, your voice is important. So speak up. 3, you make the world a more beautiful place. So show the fuck up. 2, life is good. So buck up. 1, I love you and ain't a damn thing you can do about it. So shut the fuck up. Peace and hair grease, y'all. I'm out.
All right, brand babies. We appreciate you stopping by because we know you got shit to do. Just remember to subscribe on your way out and bring a friend next time. In the meantime, and in between time, stay connected with your Brandmother on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The links are in the description. And your Brandmother wants you to remember that personal branding is not just personal, it's also business.